What's going on, everyone? So I don't normally do movie reviews in this channel. In fact, I've never done one, but I'm gonna. I'm gonna be kind of going through this movie, Infinity War. I literally just got back from watching it. It's gonna be a spoiler-heavy movie. But before the spoilers start, I do want to tell you guys some stuff that I think you should know before going into the movie that will not spoil the movie. It's just a few things. It will not spoil the movie, I promise. Before you go, you should read or look up the Prelude comics. Make sure they don't have like a spoiler warning or anything. The Prelude comics for this movie, there's two of them. They do not spoil the movie at all, and they fill in gaps before the movie that you may want to know. That's all I'm gonna say. You should do that. You really should. I watched the video explaining the Prelude comics, and it was very helpful. And I'm glad I did it, and it didn't spoil any of the movie. So you should absolutely go watch that. Second thing, go pee, because this is the longest Marvel movie to date, and I went to the bathroom twice before the movie, and even in the middle of the movie I had to pee again. So it's something about a movie theater. I don't know what it is. Just trust me, go pee. That said, here we go. Spoilers from here on out. If you don't want this movie spoiled for you, don't watch this video, obviously, or come back to it afterwards, and we can hang out and stuff. But yeah, I thought this movie was done really, really well. Really well. It's my favorite Marvel movie so far. Longest movie. There were a lot of times where you don't see a character that you've already seen in the movie for like 20 minutes, it felt like. I didn't actually time it. It just felt like 20 minutes. So yeah, there was a lot of that. Like, I'm not going to say specifically who, but there's characters who, after a while, you kind of notice, oh, I haven't seen this person in a while. I wonder what's going on with that situation. But because the movies have been set up in such a way that you know all the characters and you know everything that's going on, it works out pretty well. So it's not a complaint I'm having. It's not a complaint that you don't see certain characters as often as you should, as quickly as you should. It's not a complaint at all. I'm just saying it's noticeable, if that makes sense. Secondly, a lot of the things that were in the trailer, obviously they switch up the trailers a lot. Like, for example, in Civil War, there's some scenes that Spider-Man was in that in the Civil War trailers he wasn't in. This movie does a lot of things similar. There's a lot of things I'm trying not to spoil it too much. It's gonna be a spoiler thing, but not too much. There's a lot of things that happen differently in the movie, and then there's some stuff that are cut altogether, or just don't even make it in, or are just completely different altogether. Like the scene where Thor does this and lightning shoots out of him. That's not a thing. You don't see that at all in the movie. But you don't miss anything from it. So I hope I'm not making it too much spoilery. I will be dropping a major spoiler near the end of the movie, so near the end of this video. So do be warned. There's also, this movie does something that the other Marvel movies don't, in that they play with your emotions. They make you feel. No, but they do. There is risk in this movie. Other Marvel movies are just like, oh, okay, bad guy is gonna lose at the end. Good guys win. Nothing major's gonna happen. The worst thing to happen so far has been Rhodey being paralyzed from the waist down. And so, yeah, this one is like, yeah, let's throw that out the window. We're gonna start killing people left and right, and they do. So be warned with that. It's just, in fact, major spoilers from here on out. Half of these characters you see, if not more of the half of the characters that you see, they're all gonna die. Some of them are just kind of like, oh, okay, they died. Some of them are just like, wow, that's really weird. That's really brutal. And some of them are just kind of like, I don't do this to me, Marvel. Why are you taking this character away from me? And it's just, some of it, it's like, it's really hard to watch in the best of ways. It's so good. It is so good. But yeah, go watch it. Like I said, it's obviously some of these characters will survive, and some of them will come back. I assume, just because it doesn't make sense to get rid of them altogether. It definitely did feel like a part one of two parts movie. You do kind of get the sense of it near the end when you realize there's no way they can come out of this, and it really gets you excited for the number 4 coming out next year. I will also say that it very much felt like a Thanos movie. I know that a lot of villains don't get, their backstory. Some of them do. You do see a lot of Loki's backstory throughout all of the movies. You see a lot of Loki. So that one's a very well done villain. Since he's only really bad in 2 of the movies. But like some of the other ones you don't really see. This is almost like a Thanos movie. It's almost like he's the protagonist and everybody else is the antagonist. Almost, not quite. Obviously, everybody else is right and everybody else is the main character, but he definitely feels like a main character in this movie. And they go into depth with his backstory, his goals, the reason he wants to do stuff. They actually make him feel like a fleshed out character, and I love that about this movie. You kind of relate to what he's doing, and he wins. He actually wins in this movie. Like usually you're so used to like, oh, close call, but the heroes win. This is not that. This is close call, but Thanos win, or close call, but like this character ends up dying. And like probably with the biggest sense of that was Vision, because with Vision they're trying to protect them throughout most of the movie. Scarlet Witch is the only one who can actually destroy the Mind Stone, but they're saying if he does, then he dies. They're in the process of removing it from Wakanda. It was a close call, and they don't do it. Scarlet Witch kills him because she has to. Close call, and she ends up finally destroying the stone. Only Thanos rewind time, because he has that too, and bring Vision back to life, only to kill him again. So it's like, it's so brutal to watch that. And probably this movie definitely has some of the best fight scenes. I'd have to say Tony Stark is involved in most of them, and the last fight scene with Tony Stark is just one of the greatest things I've ever seen. That armor is incredible. If you just see the trailer on it, you don't know what you're missing, because it's just, yeah, it can do pretty cool stuff. It can appear out of seemingly nowhere, but the way he fights with it, and it disappears from one part of his body to come out of another, it was just great. And that final scene with him, or the final fight scene with him, was just amazing. It was amazing, and it makes you feel scared because everyone's on the table to die in this movie, and it's awesome. You do see a lot of all the characters. There's no scene with all 4 of the original Avengers. I guess 6, but really just the main 4 all together. And like I said, I don't know if I said this earlier, but Hulk isn't really. This is another big thing that got kind of shifted in the trailer. It's kind of a lie. Hulk isn't really in the movie. He is in the beginning of the movie in this pretty spectacular way with Loki. But I'll let you guys watch that, or if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And then after that, he becomes Banner. Banner tries to become the Hulk throughout parts of the movie, and then part of the face of the Hulk comes out, and he's just like, no. He refuses to come out. So you kind of get the sense, you don't really know what's going on, why he can't transform, why the Hulk does not want to come out, but you get the sense that the Hulk is scared, and which is really interesting for the character because he's the Hulk. So to rattle him, it must be, something else. So yeah, you don't see a lot of them, but you don't necessarily miss it. You do kind of want to see it, but Banner is such a good character, and he doesn't really need it. Although it would have been pretty cool. But yeah, it's just a great movie. Some other things, like I said, that you should probably watch all of the movies. You definitely need to watch. It would probably help if you have Thor 3. I would recommend watching that right before going to see this movie, just because it's like immediately after. So it's definitely worth the watch. That and Black Panther, which comes out in DVD. But I assume if you're watching this, you've probably already seen Black Panther. If you're watching this movie, more than likely you've already seen Black Panther. But yeah, now at this point, if you're really dreading the fact that you watched this video, you're like, no, okay, you already spoiled it. I'm about to spoil everything else about this movie. Every death. So at this point, if you're just kind of like, oh, I don't care, but I do kind of want to watch it, don't watch it if you don't want to know who dies, because it's freaking brutal for some of these guys. Like, Vision dies twice. Wong, you don't really see after the first part of him in there. He just gets invited to Stark's wedding, which is pretty interesting. Doctor Strange dies. Peter Quill dies. Gamora dies. Mantis dies. Drax dies. Groot dies. T'Challa dies. I don't think she dies. I don't think Black Widow dies. I also don't think Scarlet Witch dies, although I can't remember. Falcon dies. Bucky dies. It's just death left and right. Peter Parker dies, and Peter Parker's death was probably one of the hardest things to watch, just because everybody else is dying, and you're kind of like, you know, wow, this sucks. This is really, it sucks, and everybody around them is just kind of like watching in awe as everybody's dying, and then you get to Peter's part, and he's like so scared, so worried, telling Stark, I don't want to die, please help me, I don't want to die, please help, and then he dies as he's like talking to Tony, and he's holding him in his arms, and he's like, please help me, I don't want to die, and he dies in his arms, and it's so hard to watch. So like it really plays around with your emotion, this movie, I will say that. But obviously some of these characters, they have to come back because they're making a Black Panther 2. They've already I think they said that. They already said they're making a Homecoming 2. And like some of these, we know they're making a Guardians 3, and all of the Guardians die except Rocket, and I guess Nebula. Nebula and Stark are the only ones left on that planet. Everybody else dies. It's such a great movie. You really need to watch it. If you've seen it, go watch it again. But yeah, it's awesome, and it makes me really want to watch the next Avengers movie. Thank God it's coming out next year and not like 3 years from now, like it's usually been. But man, it does make me wonder who they're gonna keep, who's gonna come back and who's gonna stay back, who's gonna come back and then they're gonna kill. I think they're gonna kill off Rogers and Stark. I really do. I don't think they're gonna make it past the next movie. It is interesting to me that the main four did survive. And I think Black Widow did as well, but I'm not sure. But Thor survived, Stark survived, Cap survived, and Banner survived, which was, you know, I'm glad they kept this team together. Except for the end scene where Maria Hill and Nick Fury are driving, people start dying left and right, and then he tries to call for backup, Maria Hill dies in front of him, he hits send, and then he dies. So it's really interesting. Then you see the sent, and you see the Captain Marvel logo show up on the little thing he's sending with. So that's setting up for Captain Marvel, that I think is early next year. It makes sense that they believe Ant-Man is coming up next, and then it should be Captain Marvel, and then, which would make sense because then immediately after that it's Infinity War Part 2. I don't know if they're gonna call it that. It would make sense considering Thanos won. He got away and he did it. He accomplished his goal. He got all 6 Infinity Stones and won. So I'm super excited to see how they come out of this one. And they said that everything, they've mentioned this before, that everything after next year, the whole Marvel universe will be able to be split off into before Avengers 4 and after Avengers 4. So I could very well say that that's the case now because of what happened, but Dang. Anyway, that's it for this review. Definitely go watch it. If I got any names wrong or anything, doesn't matter. I mean, I'm a big fan of these movies, but for the comics, I don't read them. So, you know, I'm sorry if I upset you with pronunciations or anything of the sort. But, you know, oh well. That's it for this video. I would like to start doing movie reviews. Let me know if you guys want to see that. If for those of you watching this that don't subscribe to the channel, it's fine if you don't, just because it's not really something I do on a regular basis. It's completely different to what I do. But if those of you who are subscribed would like to see more stuff like this, would like to see more reviews, let me know. That's it. That's all I got. I wish you guys the best of luck with this movie. Like I said, go watch them all. Go watch this movie 10 billion times. Let's kick James Cameron's butt when it comes to Avatar. And yeah, it's 11:30, so I gotta go to sleep. Take care.